Welcome to Ladies in Law, where real-world advice meets professional wisdom and empowerment in realms of law and business. Your hosts, Lisa Goucher, Dawn Smith, and Kellye Raymond, bring you innovative strategies, practical guidance, and inspirational stories. Join us as we inspire and support women to thrive in traditionally male-dominated fields. We're here to promote inclusivity and provide practical advice for success.
All right. Hi, everyone. We're here at Ladies in Law, and I have Lisa and Kellye, and we're so lucky to have Megan Hargroder here again with us today. So we're here in New Orleans, and these are where she has some roots. So we're going to talk a little bit about New Orleans. I'm so grateful that I got to meet Megan at an amazing women's conference in Punta Mita last year. We'll all be going back this year. Here at another conference together, and we just wanted to take an opportunity to talk a little bit about telling your story through your biography and the importance of that. So thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, this is
happy to have you again.
We're all together in real life.
We had a little dinner last night, little drinks last night.
Okay, and you told us at dinner last night that people's biography page on their websites is make or break. And the second?
It's the second most visited page on your website after your homepage.
Okay.
And
the most
overlooked.
People are going wrong. Yeah, I think it is definitely the most overlooked.
Well, so some lawyers do not even have a photo on their biography page, which is a huge miss. Because if someone's going there in the first place, they're looking to learn about you and they want to get a visual. And most biographies read, so I call it a biography obituary. It is just a list of your accomplishments and awards and affiliations and where you clerked, and no one cares about those things. Lawyers, you care, right? Because you worked really hard for all of these accreditations and this schooling and all this stuff. But like when someone's going to hire you, they assume you went to law school. They assume you know what you're doing, and you have these affiliations. So what your potential clients are really looking for is a way to connect with you, and they're vetting to see if they trust you or not. And so that is the number one way that you can build trust with someone you've never met before, is by having a really, really good biography that does that job for you.
So what goes into having a really good biography? What are you trying to do, and how do you go about doing it?
So you want to hit some key components. It's sort of like the Carl Jung's hero's journey, where you have your hero, and I always have to tell the lawyers, like, you're not the hero in the story. Your client is the hero.
Every lawyer
Get over yourself. That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah, they want to see themselves in your story. They are the hero. They're the person you're trying to help. You are the guide. You are, if this was Star Wars, you are Yoda. You are the guide here to give them a plan to help them overcome the obstacles that they're currently facing, which oftentimes are very, very scary. So you need to present yourself with authority. Obviously, there's a level of professionalism that you need to maintain, and there's a level of authority in which you need to show them, I have solved this problem before. You're not my first rodeo. No one wants to be your first time. Like, yeah, I've never tried a murder case before, but I'll try it for you. Yeah, like no one wants to hear that. So sort of proof of concept should be included. Empathy for what they're going through. A lot of people also are going to assume lawyers are jaded in a lot of ways and may not get so excited about their case or may not put all of them into their case. So you want to show to them that you're caring about everything that you take on. And the component that is like pulling teeth when I work with lawyers is the vulnerability aspect of it. You're about to ask someone to share, in a lot of cases, very intimate private details with you. And in order for them to feel comfortable doing that, they need to feel like they have, had a peek behind the curtain about who you are and what you do and why you do it. So Jackie Ford, who's at the conference today, we did the third iteration of her biography last year, and she was terrified. And this is a very open woman about sharing, but we went really deep. She helps A lot of people with addiction issues come through her doors. And so she finally was ready to share her addiction story in her biography.
Wow.
And yesterday she's like, Megan, I think about emailing you about once every week to take some of this down. It just feels so out there. And she's like, every time I almost do, someone calls and they say, I read your story and I knew that you were the right lawyer for me.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
That's
Wow.
We're okay.
I thought you were
Why
going
is
to say
everybody
something.
looking?
I'm
No.
sorry. I was just waiting with bated breath. I thought you were going to say something.
It did look like you were going to say something.
So I think for me anyway, right, and I'm hoping a lot of people struggle with this, is that when I sit to sort of write my biography, when you're building your website and you're like, I am technically a lawyer. I don't practice as a lawyer. It's not comfortable. Like, I don't like writing about myself. I don't really like talking about myself. I imagine some people don't have that problem, but what would you say to help the folks that just really struggle with what do I talk about and how do I talk about myself in a way that just doesn't appear like completely narcissistic?
It really does take a narcissist to write their own biography well.
They can be a lawyer.
to write their own biography well, okay?
Yeah.
Most people can't do it on their own. So I like to recommend a format. There's a website called for StoryBrand, and I think it's mystorybrand.com. Just Google StoryBrand, you'll find it. But it's a free framework online where it guides you through a modified version of the hero's journey, where you outline the problems people are coming with, your unique perspective and ways to fix it, and a few other categories. And then from there, they give you a script. It's really plug and play. It's bad. You want to adapt it, but they give you a little script and you kind of plug the pieces in like Mad Libs, right?
Interesting.
So you do all of that. And then we actually created our own version of this, like for lawyers and for this type of thing, but the StoryBrand method's a fine place to start. And then from there, you're going to add in notes. I do this because my best success story looked like this. All of the components that you can just dump together, and then you give it to a friend and you ask them to take a first draft for you, or someone who works for you, or someone who works in your office. We've even started playing with this. The workshop I'm doing, I'm going to have everyone dump their notes into ChatGPT.
I was just thinking, I'm
so
sure
good. I love ChatGPT so much.
First draft, AI's not perfect, right? And so it's, you're going to still need to edit it. But once you have that first draft, then you will be able to go through and edit it. But my one piece of advice is to not take out the part that makes you the most uncomfortable, because that is going to be the most important part of your story.
Yeah.
So we didn't even talk about this. I mean, so Megan is the owner of Legends Legal Marketing. So it's this is very important. So this is why she's so passionate about bringing out the best, and that's one of the things that really kind of pulled me to you, is just how passionate you are about just not doing just the regular kind of marketing about somebody, but just getting to know them, being able to shape their story, making sure that people see them for who they are. I think that is how your company is really unique based on a lot of other legal marketing companies that I've come across, is you really try to dig in and get their story. So I was so excited that you were going to talk about this, because I hadn't really even thought about it. Like when I sat down to write my biography, it's outdated now. I probably wrote it about 5 or 6 years ago. I need your help. You need to help me rewrite it.
Yes, we all need your help.
But I remember sitting and writing it and going into a lot of great detail about just kind of why. We've been talking about this a lot through these episodes at the beginning of this 2025 year. And, I wanted people to understand why I wanted to be a lawyer, and why I do elder abuse law. So I think that, if somebody is going on, can't afford to hire somebody to do their bio or anything like that. You already talked to us about this website. Mm-hmm. But I guess, how do you get to that place where you feel like it's okay to tell that kind of deepest, darkest
The vulnerable
place.
place, right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before, but I think especially women, it's for a really, really long time, it was not okay to be vulnerable. And
Not in this profession.
no, right? And still is not, it's not like open arms, like we want to hear everyone's vulnerability.
Kumbaya, my love.
But it's clearly so important. How would you help people like get to that vulnerable spot and embrace it?
That's the part where I feel like it's actually could be more beneficial to have someone interview you during the process. So that's kind of our process, is that we do the deep dive interview with people. We ask them all of their secrets, all of their, it's internal. The work is internal in terms of getting comfortable with sharing the thing. But whatever that is, A/B test it. And a lot of lawyers, the fear actually comes from what they think their peers are going to think about them.
What's that mean?
Their story. Like,
A/B test it. What do you mean?
so you could basically have two versions of your biography. One's really boring and one's great. It's a story, but you're like, this is so much information to share with the world. So you could spend 1 month where you have one up on the website and see how that goes, and then spend the next month with the other one up on the website and see how it goes. And I've done this with people who were unsure.
You're tracking the data in terms of
Exactly.
engagement or people looking at the page.
And the specific point is month 1, boring bio. When people call you, did anyone at any point mention your biography or your affiliation?
Oh, interesting.
The answer is always no. Month 2, you've got the story biography. Did anyone mention, oh, yes, actually, someone was like, they saw themselves in my story, or they felt like they knew me. So people will say that when they call if you've got a good intake process that allows them.
That seems
to
like
share.
such an obvious test. Did anybody talk about or mention the story?
Yeah.
Well, and you talked about your client today. Didn't you say this was her third story biography before she truly got to that place that she could authentically share how vulnerable she was? So
Yeah.
I'm sure the other 2 biographies were good, right? She was working with you. They were still telling her story. And even though she wasn't comfortable, it still allowed people to get to know her. So to me, the whole message is like, you don't have to literally put it all out there the first time.
Right.
You could just go through the process, which then people go with you and you're growing. And at the end of the day, you get there.
It's kind of like therapy, right? Like
Yeah,
you have
it
to do
sounds
the
like
work.
it is. Do people refer to you as their therapist in that process?
Too much. I get well because I work with a lot of solos, and
Yes.
so they have me and Colleen's cell phone numbers, and a lot of them don't have like a partner or an assistant or
Or a
anyone
therapist.
or real truly to bounce
Like
ideas
boundary.
off of, you know. So it's kind of like they're texting about all kinds of things. Like I had a client who's in this business program that I won't mention the name of. We're not doing, don't guess. And he's been in it for a long time, and he knew that it wasn't working out for him, and he finally quit. And so he texts me of course it was like 8:30 in the evening. And he's like, hey, I finally quit. And I was like, and how are you feeling about that? And he's like, well, kind of a sense of loss. And I was like, that's normal. Yeah. You were doing that for
You're
a
like, I just
while.
want you to know you're getting my therapy rate, not my marketing rate.
I think it's vice versa. It should be much higher for the therapy rate. Yeah.
Much higher.
Exactly.
But our clients feel really comfortable with us, and that's how we're able to get them a little bit more out of their box. But yeah, with Jackie's bio, her first version was great. It was about the people that she helped, and she deep dived there, and that was really effective. But it got way more effective when she opened up and she shared some family stuff. Like she had to call her dad and be like, is this okay that I say this?
Interesting.
That's really good. Well, tell us a little bit about your story. Like how have you gotten to the place to where you've realized that lawyers really need to do a deep dive and stop with I love this bio obituary. Is that what you called it?
So
Where lawyers go to die.
Yes.
On there, how did you decide based on your background that being able to tell lawyers' stories is so important?
Well, I've always been into stories. So my first job was a one-man band news reporter at the local TV station. So I was chasing stories from way back. But first of all, it's really interesting to me. Like, I need to care about the work that I'm doing, which means I need to care about the people I'm working with. So I need to know them. So it first came from a selfish place of just trying to really learn everything I could to just be better. But the other thing that I noticed was, so my company, like most agencies, does search engine optimization, which is a very confusing game. Which fluctuates constantly, which Google algorithms shift constantly, which everyone says that they are the best at. And you're like, but why are you the best? Are you doing anything different? None of us are doing anything different from each other, in case you were wondering. But what I noticed was there's a difference in traffic and conversions. So the same site could be getting 2,000 hits per month. But that's just people getting to your website. If they don't see something there that makes them want to call you, they're going to go to one of the other 3 tabs that they have open up, because no one's just going to one lawyer website and picking them. They're going to multiple and they're saying this one's the best. So you may have a site that's getting a lot of traffic and maybe the SEO is good, but then people get there and it's just generic messaging, cityscape, background, obituary, biographies, and you've lost half of your leads because of that, because your competitor, maybe they're telling a story, maybe they're making that client feel really comfortable. I think lawyers really forget that people don't trust lawyers.
Right.
So it's an uphill battle that you have to fight in order to get there. So the more that you share, and authority is important too. Don't get me wrong. We love case studies. We love testimonials. We love little badges, but all of those have their places. And they can be woven throughout your story.
I think it's so funny when you talk about the lawyer, like the obituary biography, because how
So good.
fucking sad is it if your real obit started with like, I was a member of this association.
Yes, who cares about that?
Like, unless you're Tiffany McGee, who is the CEO of Texas Trial Lawyers,
Shout out to Tiffany McGee.
and you are a rock star, like nobody cares you were in an association, right? I mean, I think my biography probably sucks. It definitely needs your help.
It needs a little help.
Yes, it 100% does. And I hate, like, anytime you're going to a conference or speaking and people ask you to send, and I'm like, oh, I hate sending the biography because I know it's not good, right? But out it goes. And I just find it really interesting that so many people neglect this when it's so hugely important and you have the data to back up why it's so important.
It's hard. It's hard to sit down and spend the time to really figure out who you are and why you're doing something. I mean, I think especially in this profession, we get going so fast. We're like, okay, got to get this done, got to get that done, get it. And just to take that moment of time and peace and reflection to just say, okay, what is this all about?
Well, I think it's hard too, because the goal, right, is you want somebody to read it and think, I like this person, I want to work with this person. And so you want to make yourself sound great and the very best version of yourself without sounding like a narcissistic asshole, right? How do you do that?
Well, the key is to not try to sound great. Because you already are great. You're a successful business person. Like you know what you're doing. You help people. You're already great. So don't try to say that you're great in any way. You just say your why. Why, the why and the what and the who you're helping, and really focusing in on them. There are parts of my own biography that I cringe about when I read, because I'm like, what if people judge me? You know, like I talk about the very beginnings of starting my business, and anyone who reads it is like, wow, you had no idea what you were doing. And that can be interpreted multiple ways.
Sure.
Of like, you figured this shit out and you built a real business out of nothing. You had no idea and some of it's like, wow, you
You've had no business.
Yeah, it seems like you had some really obvious business problems in the beginning that you should have solved earlier. You know, there's like a lot of ways you could look at it, but people also aren't reading this to shit on you. They're reading it because
Gosh, some people, the defense lawyers, maybe.
Okay, look, maybe the defense lawyers are, and let them.
They're going to do what they do.
They're going to do what they do. That's right.
Yeah, well, that's the scary thing about vulnerability just in general, is that you are giving something of yourself, or you're sharing bits of yourself, and you have to trust people not to weaponize it, or not to be mean about it, not to laugh.
Sorry, there's a gnat.
There's a New Orleans fleet flying around us right here.
Not to judge you, right?
But that's the whole thing, right? Like doing it without care, like owning those feelings so much that that's so a part of you and accepting that piece of you. I think that's the hardest part. But that's why you're doing it.
My biggest takeaway was I'm not the hero.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that is
right.
huge. And I'm thinking for you, that just transitioned naturally from your reporting days, story days. But for people in general, not just in legal, across the board, when you're trying to sell yourself or attract business
Without selling yourself.
you're not the hero. I mean, that's like really going to
little
stick
bit
with me.
mind-blowing.
I love it.
Yeah, I do
You know,
too.
I'm going to tell people, I'm not the hero. You're the hero.
Because everybody cares the most about themselves. I mean, that is psychology, right?
Yeah.
Everybody cares the most about themselves. So they want to be the person in that middle of the story, and they have to see
Story.
it. It's
Yeah, that's when you work with someone, it's they're the protagonist in the story.
Right.
You are coming in as their guide. And I also like to say, like, you're not the rescuer, right?
Okay.
Because that further victimizes people. And what you're really wanting to do is bring them to a place of empowerment, because at the end of this, they have or want to have a clear picture of what is that solution and what is it on the other side of this terrible thing that I'm going through right now. Like, what does the good part look like, or the best possible case after? So you really want to give it as like, I am that guide, and I am that guide from start to finish. And I know a lot of lawyers who, beyond the close of the case, they're still reaching out, checking in on people. And I always say, if that's something you do, like, talk about that. Like, I have one client who does criminal defense. He gets invited to people's birthday parties, you know, and that's his most rewarding thing about that, is that his clients are free to be with their families and inviting him to their birthday parties.
Having that real connection. I think as lawyers, we need help from people like you, is tried to shift from being, it's so hard, because you have to go and you have to know the law, you have to argue purportedly dispassionately, right? You're supposed to, but that is so against everything that is true about our human nature, right? The story that you're telling that is so complicated and complex and just devastating. You have to be able to live through that to really convey that person's story. And you're totally doing them a disservice if you're not living in their story. And to be able to live in their story, you have to connect with them on that human level. And it's scary, like, because that means you have to share a little piece of you, and you don't know this client. You don't know who they are. You don't know everything about them, but you have to be vulnerable.
Right. Well, you want your clients to connect with you, but how do you do that if you're not connecting with them? Right.
Because you got to make that effort. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, so how about, Lisa, your
your
story,
biography?
your bio? How do you feel about your bio?
Well, just thinking about it in the light of I'm not the hero, I totally need to revamp mine.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to go back and look at our website, because that's the last one that I did, but that was before we were using legends. So Megan, we probably need to redo all of our bios, because while I thought it was appropriate at the time, and now I'm going to go back and look at it in a new light.
Well, Dawn's going to get started this afternoon in the workshop, because we're doing a workshop where we're going to walk through the framework.
Yeah.
It's my first time doing it with a large group. I usually do one-on-ones. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It
is exciting. Well, you know, I think people need to know a little bit more about your company and kind of what your vision is. We've gotten to know a little bit about your underlying principles, but tell us a little bit more about Legends and what you can do for your clients, or what you do for your clients.
Yeah, so we are Legends Legal Marketing. We build beautiful branded websites that really focus on story, like we've been talking about today. And then we offer marketing services focused on search engine optimization, so getting traffic to the site, as well as social media and kind of everything in between. We like to adapt with the changing times. So like, yes, we're doing some TikTok and some Blue Sky now. And
You were one of the first legal marketers, I think, that like embraced social media,
yeah, I was,
TikTok and Facebook.
I started my company because I couldn't afford yoga classes, and I did trade with a studio owner so that I could. And then she's like, more people are coming to class because you're doing this social media thing. What are you doing? And I'm like, just reaching out to people. You know, in the old days where you could just reach out to people and be like, come to class, it's fun. But yeah, so I've just kind of built over time on the principle of like, be where the people are. And I've built a really great team. My team's remote, so I hire nationally, which is great because you get a better talent pool. You're not, you don't have to be in one place. And remote work is just really good for some people, and you really get the best out of people. And I'm really lucky I found just a team full of people who actually care about this, and they care about the people we work with. And we're very blessed that really good lawyers come to our door and knock. There's all kinds of lawyers out there, but we have just lucked out with some of the most amazing, genuine people who are really doing it for all the right reasons.
Well, they say the harder you work, the luckier you are, right?
Yeah,
Not
well-
luck at all.
I think it has to do with energy too, though, because I think that you gravitate towards people that are genuine if you're genuine yourself, and you come across that way and your team comes across that way. So I think it's more, when I met you guys, I was like, how can I figure out how to work with these guys? I got to figure out how to work with these guys. And Megan and her team does all of our social media for Ladies in Law. And it's just been amazing working with you. And I think you bring that energy. You really do.
Power of attraction.
That's right.
Well, yeah, right. Nobody's ever like, God, that guy's a real asshole, but I love working with him. Like, you just don't. People want to work with you because they like you. At the end of the day, humans are pretty simple, right? It's, do I like this person? Do I want to be around them? Are they helping me?
And we do have a no asshole policy because
I did want to talk to you about that.
we do. So we have let clients go for various reasons that are all fall under you are displaying asshole-like tendencies.
Yeah.
And that is because it is emotionally draining for my team members to have to deal with that, and it's hard on them emotionally because they are trying their best and taking things seriously, and when people are mean to them or like yell for no reason, like just taking out a bad day,
Right.
On their account manager, that affects them, and then they don't get to bring their best selves into their next call with their next client. So it's really a disservice to all of our great clients to have any that are bringing the ship down. And honestly, we do good work and we really help people, and I don't want to help people who aren't doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah. For me as a small business owner, that is my measure of success. Am I to a place where I don't have to work with assholes? Can I say, no, thank you. I'm not that interested, because it really is, one bad apple spoils the bunch, but especially when you've got such a great team, it can really impact somebody's day.
Yeah.
And their work products, yes, and life.
Really, in general.
Well, and I would say you're fresh and you're forward thinking, and those are two really challenging things to say in legal, right? That's what I want to try to stay, is fresh and forward thinking, and then just listening to everything that you're doing and how different and how you retain and continue to grow with clients that trust you, like you, and resonate with you. Like Megan, it's refreshing, totally refreshing.
Yeah. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they get a hold of you?
Legendslegalmarketing.com. I have a little link on there where you can talk to either me or Colleen. I think she's a lot more likable than I am, so
She's very likable.
She's very likable.
Also important in business, make sure that you've got better people around you.
I always say she's so good at sales. Like, I'm technically our salesperson, but I'm just like, hey, nice to meet you. Here's what we do. What do you do? Let's chit chat. Here's a proposal. Call me if you want. And Colleen's like, we are getting you set up. Girl, you need some social media. This is bad. This is good. Okay, here's what we're going to do. You want to start now? Here's this proposal. You can sign it now. Like, whole different vibe.
Wow,
She's
that was
so
two different personalities right there.
Yeah.
Totally see it.
Yeah.
She's good. I would have her do more of this if she wasn't busy running accounts.
See, we gotta add people. Gotta add people. Move her to where her special skill set is.
Doing that. I'm hiring, girl. I'm getting on board. I've unlocked a couple of the Gen Z's.
Unlocked the Gen
Yeah,
Z.
you gotta figure out how to unlock those.
It's kind of a different language, right?
It's a whole different. There's some really good ones out there if you sift through.
You have to kiss a lot of frogs.
So tell me, I have a couple of Gen Z's.
Yeah, I
and
really
still-
want you to elaborate on unlocking
Yes,
Gen Z.
how do you do that?
Okay, so when finding a good Gen Z, you're not focusing on a Gen Z skill set. Assume they have it. They have that skill set. They can do anything online. They can do anything with social media and TikTok and all that stuff. So move past that. What you're vetting for is how long have they stayed in any job? A lot of them, it hasn't been more than a year just in one place. So how long have they stayed in any job? How thick is their skin?
How do you test that?
That's important too.
Do you yell at them?
I give them writing assignments, and then I give them intentionally harsh feedback on the writing, and then I say, can you do it again?
Gosh,
And
did
that-
you see the look in her eyes?
Yeah.
Like, I think she was talking to me like, oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Did you feel like you were in trouble?
I did. I was just like, all of a sudden, the
And she was
laser.
hurt that you didn't like her writing.
Laser.
I know I seem really friendly, but when I'm in boss mode, I'm like,
It totally went to boss mode.
I
Can't
don't
play.
do soft feedback for anyone.
Yeah.
And so I want to know that they can handle it because we don't have time to be like, this is interesting. Let's review and maybe talk. No.
Not when
I'm
your
like,
clients are lawyers.
no,
right?
exactly. I'm like, trash, do it again.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. So give them very specific but harsh feedback intentionally and then have them do it again. Some people won't do the assignment again. That is a very Gen Z trait. They've
Bye?
gotten
Is
discouraged.
that bye-bye?
Yeah.
They just cannot take the harsh.
Right. They're like, I'm sorry, this was my best. And obviously this wasn't good enough for you, so I'm out.
Okay. Love that for you.
And they self-sort themselves out like that. And then the really good ones will come back with not only a new draft, but edits. Like you said this, and so I decided to, kind of explaining their thought process. And then the other part is like showing up. So
God.
I'll make them go through a series of calls with everyone. And I'm looking for them to be the first person who is signed on for the Zoom call. If they're late, if they're no shows, obviously, I just eliminate people right off the bat. And I also just kind of ask how much have you managed at one time? Can you do more than one thing at a time? Give me examples of when you had multiple projects and you had to get them all done. Because I'm looking for more of a millennial attitude where it's like, let's go.
The millennials used to get the bad rap, and now there's
Yes, the
the younger generation that get the bad rap.
But we were the ones doing the free internships and not being like, oh my gosh, girl boss on Instagram told me to know my worth. And so I think I need $80K a year to start interning with you.
Right. I was just telling somebody that my first 3 internships were free, unpaid. And now colleges, at least in some of the colleges in the Dallas area, you can't post an intern listing if it's unpaid.
Really?
They won't even let you do it. You have to pay.
Gosh, come on.
I know.
Work for free.
Yeah.
Pay your dues. It's okay. The money will come.
And it depends on the internship, but a proper apprenticeship style internship, it should be free. You're getting free education.
Right.
If you're just running around making coffee for people, okay, throw them some money or whatever, but also you shouldn't be doing that type of internship because it's not going to push your career
You're not
forward.
actually anything. Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know this is a big day for you because you're speaking today, and I can't wait to learn about. I'm excited. I'm going to get to rewrite my bio
Me
today.
too. It's going to
really
be fun.
excited. Yeah. But thank you for
We
coming
just
on.
love having you. I feel like we learn so much every time you're with us. You've got such great advice. And it's so clear that your business is successful because of a lot of these things that you're sharing with us. And so really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
So if you don't want your bio to be your obituary, where attorneys go to die, you definitely need to reach out to Megan
call.
at Legends, and she will get you taken care of.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today. It was fun.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Ladies in Law. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to shake things up in law and business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let us know what you think. Spread the word and share this podcast with your network. Follow us on socials for all the behind-the-scenes fun and sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. Until next time, keep rocking it, keep breaking the mold, and as always, keep aspiring to inspire.